Hello, ladies, ladies, Gungans, and those beyond the binary. My name's Charlie Savage,
My name's Ethan Unthal.
and today, welcome, jeez, and today, welcome to episode 11 of Outer Rim Radio, the podcast made by Star Wars nerds for Star Wars nerds. And today, we'll be discussing episodes 2 and 3 of the Bad Batch, aka Cut and Run, which is episode 2, and Replacements, which is episode 3. And before we get into that, let's dive right into the news for this week.
Uh, Not much news. It's been a pretty dry spell. I figured we'd hit the May 4th timeline and we get lots of things, but as I complained about last time, we've got nothing but merchandising.
Merchandising. God, that's such a good
I think
bit.
I've thought more about Spaceballs than I have anything in the past week, but
I mean, that's most weeks, if I'm gonna be honest with you.
It's a good week. But we actually did get some news. Some of it's actually pretty exciting. First thing that I'd like to point out is StarWars.com is now releasing exclusive excerpts of their certain High Republic books. So they just did this for their latest middle grade novel, meaning this is for a little bit younger than young adult. This is for Star Wars: The High Republic Race to Crash Point Towers. So if you go over to StarWars.com, you can actually find an excerpt from their little chapter there, and it kind of tells you what the book's about, which I actually think is pretty. They're giving us the text to see what the writing style is like, what the book's about.
Yeah.
And it's just a cool way for us to kind of engage in it before we buy it. Obviously, we are not Charlie and I are not the intended audience of this. It's middle grade.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty cool that they're creating more books for young adults and kids, and just bringing them in, encouraging young fans of Star Wars, but also getting them to read. So I just want to point that out because I think it's one of those more wholesome points of news in Star Wars, rather than just oh hey, this actress got belittled to near death by people on Twitter. Neckbeard on Twitter. I shouldn't use the word people. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I really like that they do that, so it's actually able to preview the book.
Yeah, it's actually one of the coolest things Disney has done, because I'm an avid reader. I just because of my job, I travel so much, and just hats off to Disney for really pushing for the production market. So
also on Mother's Day, StarWars.com released a quiz that says, which Star Wars mom are you? Now I'm dying to know.
Oh, I forgot to take it. I was gonna take it before the show and do it as a joke. No.
I want to know. We should do that after in the hangout period.
We should do that at the end of the show, and then we can clip it. Oh, it's hilarious.
I hope I'm Hera.
Okay. Yeah,
he's my favorite.
But an actual news, other than just like, hey, a book came out. This is actually some pretty cool stuff. More photos have been released from the Andor set, and we saw images of shore troopers. So you can kind of see the ocean in the background. It's from where they're shooting in the UK for these scenes, and it's pretty cool. Very coastal, but it's just interesting to see shore troopers again in live action, because we haven't seen them like that since Rogue One, and it's an interesting parallel, especially because these are the beginning of the end of that story, right? So
yeah,
I thought it was a really interesting look at it, and I'm very excited because of all the photos we've got of this. Is it a show? Is it right?
What is this? An Andor? Yeah. It is a show. So, I was like,
yeah, that's what I just want to make sure before I misquoted, but it's really cool because we've got a lot of really diverse places out of this set so far.
Yeah.
Deserts and coastal towns and jungle stuff. So yeah. It's really cool how many shots they've gotten out of this. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah. It's nice to see, like, I think the live action stuff, especially recently, like with Mandalorian, they've been doing a really good job of diversifying, like, the planets and places, especially season 2 did.
Like, going to places to make it feel foreign and alien, and I've really appreciated them taking that effort.
Yeah, and I like that we're going to more places than just, like, what's the planet on Mando? There's that, and then he goes to Tatooine. I'm forgetting the name of the planet. Why am I blanking?
I am too.
It's fine. It's not that important.
It's not.
But anyways.
But the last bit of news, Mark Hamill, the glorious man himself, Luke Skywalker,
King.
The canonical Joker, has joined TikTok, graced Star Wars TikTok with his presence.
He has. And people are like dying. I think we should invite him on the show. I think there's no real
For the
reason.
memes.
I don't think
I
I'll
would.
say yes in any good reason, but I think it'd be funny if he did. It'd be fun.
I mean, can
I
you?
don't know if I could handle it, quite frankly.
I'd probably die.
Probably.
Wouldn't even be on set. I'd just be dead.
Does
Speaking of dead,
anyone? I'm
let's
really
talk about
curious.
Bad
This
Batch.
Before we get to that, I just have to ask one question. Do you think do you think anybody's had to explain Discord to Mark Hamill yet, or not? I feel like he uses it all the time, or he has no idea what it is, and there's no in between.
No, I don't think he uses Discord.
You don't?
I don't think he knows what Discord is.
Okay. I just know it's one or the other, and I just feel like with the amount of voice acting he does, he might.
Jack Black knows what Discord is.
This is very true. When did we get Jack Black on the show? This is the real question.
I loved his May the 4th General Kenobi thing.
It's so good.
It was so stupid. Oh man.
I love Jack Black
go check
because
him out on
everything he
TikTok.
makes is just like weird old YouTube videos, but he just does them now.
And they're viral as shit.
I know.
Oh man.
Anyways,
All right.
into
Let's
our
talk
main
about Bad
topic of
Batch
Bad
first.
Batch, since we have 2 episodes to cover.
Yeah. Let's do some general discussion first because obviously we have a lot to talk about, but
Yeah.
I do have some general feelings I'd like to get across because I was reading after I watched the 2 episodes, Cut and Run, and then the replacements. I actually read some reviews and I kind of agreed with some things. It was a little bit interesting to see how closely mirrored these episodes of the Bad Batch have been to the Mandalorian plot lines.
Mhm.
And a lot of reviewers were pointing that out. And I don't agree that it can be criticism because it's such a, I don't want to say nitpicky, but we haven't seen enough of the plot yet to know why that is, right?
Yeah.
You know, they literally, I'm going to say this in order because I wrote it in the wrong order, but you know, he's trying to give Omega away, just like Din was trying to give trying to give Grogu away to give that child a better life. But it turns out, oh, Hunter, you need Omega more than Omega
Yeah.
needs you. Like, which they didn't say explicitly, but it very much based off the dialogue between Hunter and Cut.
Yeah.
He keeps telling him, you have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, there's this innocence and this, I don't want to say perfection about Omega because she is a flawed character, but it's like no one's criticizing her. It's just like, be yourself, where it's like, Hunter, you need to learn. There's something you haven't learned yet. And that's kind of what happened with Crosshair in the first episode. So
I'd agree.
and then also they crash onto a desolate moon. They start dealing with strange creatures, which I enjoyed the Ordon Mutant Dragons. Those were cool. But you're dealing with the child's action. It's basically like when they crash landed on the ice moon.
Yeah.
And Grogu did all this dumb shit, and he's got to deal with that while he's trying not to get everyone killed.
There's so many. There's only so many Star Wars stories we can tell, apparently. Which, I mean, to be fair, there were lots of times in Rebels where they get crash stuck on a planet, like that episode where Zeb and Callus have to work together.
I just wasn't expecting it so many times within the first 3
episodes. Yeah, but I also think there's
intentional or not.
Yeah, well, I think there's also a good amount of variation. I just think that Mandalorian is easy to pull from. I think of all the Star Wars media, just especially because it's the most recent, like most impactful.
There's a recency bias. Oh yeah.
But I think the way they're able to differentiate this is all through how do I put this? Like Omega is actually able to make her own decisions, and I think that's what plays more into it.
Well, and she can voice her opinion and her decisions. So
yeah.
Whereas Grogu is this, I would use the word mystical, like feeling about him.
But also, like, I mean, I know that Omega's probably central to the plot for the Kaminoans, as we've found out, but also, like, she doesn't have quite the target on her back like the Imperial Remnant had on Grogu's back, because leaving Grogu with those people would have killed those people in reality. Like,
I actually do have a theory that we can talk about in a few minutes, and it's pretty much related to that.
Okay. But I just think she's more capable than a baby, so.
She's more capable. I agree with that. The other thing was, I really like this. Don't get me wrong. I really like Bad Batch, and I really enjoyed watching it. It's super cool. The animation is super crisp. It's super clean. Actually, I just got a new TV because my other one broke.
Ooh,
That's a whole other thing. Um, so I get this new TV, and man, it was perfect. It was crisp. I really could appreciate not only the animation but the sound design on the show. I was
yes, it's
really
so good.
impressed, especially on Salamanca is the name of the
Saluka
planet.
Mine, yeah.
Saluka Mine. I don't know.
The
Oh,
colors
that's.
that they really pop.
I went Breaking Bad, not Bad Batch. um, but it was really cool. But I just my biggest complaint so far is there's so much world building and lore going on right now, and Disney's really been focused on we need to connect the trilogies, so they're adding stuff in
Yeah,
between to get us from A to Z and just really make it cohesive. And I appreciate that, but when you have so much lore going on, and then we got in the replacements, you got so much world building, and then you have two separate storylines in a 30-minute episode. I kind of feel like my attention's getting juggled all over the place.
right.
And I really find the Hunter and Omega dynamic, really, the whole Bad Batch right now, their dynamic very compelling and very emotionally driving for a story. But it's just like they're popping me in so many directions,
Yeah,
and it feels like they need to. Don't get me wrong; it's the right choice there, but it's just hard to like follow at
yeah,
times. Not even from a I know what's going on, but just like emotionally.
yeah. I understand that for sure. And I
A
also
roller
think,
coaster, but not in a good way. That's how I'll word it.
yeah. Um, I don't know if we want to skip ahead exactly to this point, but what I really did enjoy, because we were talking about, like, you were talking about the world building versus the actual plot story, like being told
Mhm.
immediately.
Right.
Like what I really liked, actually, surprisingly, was the ability to go between in replacements, to go between Crosshair and go between like the actual crew. Like I thought that was really interesting, and I thought that was a great like lean in to try to give us an insight into what's going on with the Empire and Camino. Like I think
Yeah,
the way they
actually,
did that was
we'll talk about that.
fantastic.
Let's talk about that in a second. Let's talk about episodes 2 first, because I actually think
Yeah,
after we get this out of the way, we'll have more to talk about 3, and I'd like to get back to your point because I do have a couple things to say about that, but I would like to kind of work my
yeah,
way there.
agreed. We should do that.
Yeah, episode 3 is fantastic, but well, not but it was fantastic. I actually think episode 2 is as the lesser of the two episodes. Um, and I'll get to that in a second. I really enjoyed episode 2. I mean, it was really nice to see Cutler Quinn again, and
Yeah,
I think it was the perfect transitional episode to go from okay, we've had our premiere. Let's get into that episodic format and let's start to show you how we're going to establish
yeah,
emotional tension. Whereas episode 3 was like, hey, this is where the plot is. This was, hey, there's going to be some stakes to this emotionally, and I really enjoyed, getting to see Omega's childlike love, and you just she just so obsessed with the small things because she lived in such a sterile environment.
yeah.
I
Like
mean, I really some people thought it was funny when she goes down and she grabs the dirt. I thought it was touching
no, it's
in like
touching. I did giggle
in
though,
a
but it
cold
was
way.
so touching.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's cute, but it's also sad. You
yeah,
know, she just wants to be a kid, and Hunter wants her to be a kid, and that's why that made so much sense. If she
right.
did not pick up that dirt and go, "Oh my gosh, this is so amazing," if she did not try to play with Cut's kids and not know how to play, it wouldn't
Yeah,
have made sense for Hunter to go, "Oh, I'm dumping you off." I honestly think in real life, the right decision would have been for her to go with it.
yeah,
It doesn't make for a compelling story though. And
exactly.
that's the thing I enjoyed the most about Cut is he's just this semblance of reality, what the world should be like,
Yeah,
and
like
also what the world can't be for the Bad Batch.
exactly. They wanted to kind of just get away and lie low, and it's kind of immediate. Like once they're there with the Empire, it's impossible for them to lay low.
I also speaking of Cut, one of the funny things my girlfriend kept saying, for anyone who's played Skyrim, Elder Scrolls, she hadn't seen Cut before because she hadn't watched
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars, and she kept saying, "Why does Cut look like Bellator from Skyrim?" 'Cause he had this big mutton chops now, and I
Yeah.
was like, "This is so funny." I really enjoyed the look to make him look unique, and you didn't have to know who Cut LaQuaine was to understand who, like,
Exactly.
why he was there, but it really helped. Man, these kids were so cute, and this episode was really cute, but it used that to make things sad. It's like
Yeah.
Omega's never gonna have a normal life. Hunter's not going to know how, and he's got a lot of lessons before he can give Omega a life that he deserves. And I've really been enjoying the increase in fathers stories
Yeah.
in Star Wars, and really the focus on relationships and being what it means to be a parent, a father, a mother, like
A kid, even.
a kid. I mean, that's what I enjoyed so much about Cut's kids. You know,
Yeah.
they're living in this dichotomy of, oh, we want to play, but don't play outside the barbed wire fence or the Nexu's going to kill you, which was really cool, by the way.
Yeah.
That was one of my other things I want to talk about. But
Yeah.
um,
We need more
I just wanted
Nexus,
to say,
damn it.
like, I was
Maybe
really
not towards
happy.
children, but more
True.
Nexus.
I was really happy to see Cut happy. And I think that was a really perfect way to kind of set up the emotional stakes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give the writing crew full credit there. Like, that was a fantastic but subtle way to really set up the emotional stakes of this Omega Hunter
Yeah.
dynamic.
And I also, just in general, in terms of like any sort of on like a fan servicey somewhat of a level, I just love like the kind of awareness the show has showed so far, as to include like the Kanan thing, so it lines up with what he talks about with the first or the Grand Inquisitor and Rebels. I like how that's literally what that's for, is to just line up with Rebels. And I think we're gonna see Kanan again also.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the Dave Filoni everything clicks kind of writing that I really enjoyed. There's so many
Yeah.
small things, and it's like you're not wasting. There's no fat.
Yeah.
There's really no fat on the writing.
Yeah, and
I
it's
just
like
appreciate it so much
we
because
brought back like
everything is going to connect.
yeah, and it's like and we brought back a just a random clone from really like the second season of Clone Wars before the show was even so super serious. Like two is
Yeah.
where it kind of picks up a bit, but I'd say like
Three is
four.
where the plot
Yeah.
kicks in.
Three is where plot is. Four is when everything starts really kicking in, and onwards.
Yeah.
Just...
I'm gonna give them credit because it was one of those things where you never think about, like, what was it like for a clone to step off Camino for the first time,
right? Like you never think about that,
especially during the Clone Wars when the battles are going.
Yeah.
What's it like when he steps off and he can't think about? And keep in mind, they're not that old at that point. Steps off for the first time onto a planet, and he's got to go, oh, I have to fight. I can't be a kid.
Yeah,
She's
and
both
like
a clone and a child, and those things never went together.
yeah, and it's like they're kind of like that idea of thought, like how many clones, like if you think about like the Battle of Geonosis, have like only ever been to Camino, like probably all of them have never been anywhere else, and then they're just dropped on like this desolate hellscape, right?
Yeah. And that's one of the things I'm just really appreciating about this is just it very subtly kept the Clone Wars tradition of asking those what if world building questions, like what is it like, what was that feeling, what if we put these guys here as they've never experienced, and
which is
I just really enjoyed that. But I mean, other small things, it was cool to see a Nexu in action for the second time. They appeared lots of times, but they're usually by mention or in photo frames. So to see it from episode 2 of the prequels to this was kind of cool. It was really cool to see the chain code and how that got brought up, because that was one of the things they introduced in The Mandalorian.
And people were like, what the hell is that?
And now they've connected it through, and it makes sense, and it was really believable. Like, you did not need to watch Mandalorian. Like, it doesn't feel like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because they set it up, and they say, hey, they're going to take our vehicles now and impound them until they register them? What the? Oh, no. They're not only registering planes and vehicles, they're registering people.
Yeah.
Which
also the amount of instant authoritarianism is great and perfect for
It's
what's
great
happening.
world building. It just establishes it instantly. You don't have to ask questions. And I mean, even we get to see Vice Admiral Rampart, and unnamed at this point in episode 2, and you're already like, just based off of the demeanor of this guy, you're like, I'm gonna punch him in the face.
Yep.
He feels like an Imperial, and that's just.
And that's also how
they're
my
doing
mom feels about
such-
Tarkin.
Yeah,
I mean, we know who Tarkin is, but like, they're doing a great job of just selling like, yeah, the Empire is shitty people, and they do not care about you.
they've just been really deliberate with their tone,
Yeah.
and I've really appreciated that. But
Yeah.
The
Also-
last thing I want to say, and
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think it's really important, is the interest that was shown in Rex. I know we
Yes.
talked about this before,
Especially with
but
Echo.
just kind of with Echo. I know we talked about this before, but like I just said, I don't think Filoni keeps fat. His writing crew, they don't keep fat in their stories.
No.
We are going to see this. I'm going to almost guarantee it because, one, like I said, there's no fat. But in the next episode, I think they introduced a lot more with the inhibitor chip in a way that makes me go, okay, they have to get to Rex. So there's going to be a point which they have to get to Rex and figure out how to remove these chips, not only for Crosshair's sake, but
for.
I'll make my prediction, and
I think we have. I think we're on the same wavelength here, brother.
There's another kid in the crew who needs it. So,
Kid
but if you have any more points about cut and run, cut and run.
Oh shoot, what was I gonna say? I forget. I'm blanking. Just go on to the next thing. It'll come to me. It always does.
It always does. So, episode 3, the replacements.
Oh wait, I just remembered. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, this is also plays in episode 3 as well, but it plays in all 3 episodes. So far, whenever they talk about producing more clones in the future, Tarkin always pretty much is like, "Oh, this is a cost thing," more than anything. That's kind of what he just refers to it as. I was like, "Oh, we should have conscripted soldiers that choose to be loyal," or like whatever. But I was listening to people talk about it today, and I really I like it from the authoritarian propaganda angle that we eventually see in Rebels, and is that they're basically eventually just trying to get everyone to join the Empire, because they even showed it in episode 3 where the guy is like, "Oh yeah, they put a roof over my head and they give me a place to sleep and eat and do whatever." He's like, "That's more than the Republic ever did for me." So giving that perspective.
Great point. Never mind. I answered my question. I thought I was frozen on stream.
And now you are again.
Oh, I am frozen. Yeah, I am frozen. Man, this is midnight. Yeah,
it's fine.
It's very. I've enjoyed this background world building of conscripted soldiers, money. It's just a whole nother plot line.
Yeah,
and it's going to be very interesting to see where they take it from here.
Yeah, give me my Star Wars House of Cards.
Essentially. All right, ready to move on to episode 3?
Yeah.
Cool. Whether I'm frozen or not at this point, I don't know.
Let me see if I can fix it.
Probably not.
But yeah, go for it.
My internet. I'm just gonna get right into it. Wrecker's headaches.
Yes.
That was not banging his head, anything like that. That's his inhibitor chip.
Yeah, it's literally right where it is, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm not ready for this."
Based off of Disney writing, and this is a little more of a kiddie. It's not a kiddie show, but it's this is more Clone Wars. Like anyone can watch it, and that was kind of the point of George Lucas. If you don't know, George Lucas said, "Hey, we're going to create this show, and it's not going to be a cartoon written like it's for children. It's going to be a children's cartoon that anyone can watch," which really shows in the tone of the show. It's not pandering. And in this, I think we've seen a lot of darker tones, but I don't think Wrecker will turn over. I think Wrecker is going to be on that edge. He might go get a little bit creepy and freaky at one point, but that's going to be their we got to get this inhibitor chip out before we lose Wrecker.
Agreed. I think that's going to be the pressure.
We already lost Crosshair. We can't lose another.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the pressure is, are they going to lose themselves to this conflict?
Yeah.
To this tension of not belonging to this group that want, it's pulling them there, and it's very metaphorical actually. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be, I'm I hope they use
Yeah.
that kind of idea
I
because
think
it's
at
really cool.
worst, it's pardon me for my long stretch to anyone that hasn't played a Sly Cooper game before. but I think it's, I guess, in how as bad as I expect it to get, I as worse as I expect it to get is like if you remember the Contessa level in Sly 2 where they imprison both Sly and Murray. Bentley's the only one that
Yeah.
makes it out. Best chapter of that game, by the way. That there's a point where basically they try to drug and hypnotize Murray into
Right.
basically being just like a giant force of nature, and I think that's gonna be the closest thing that Wrecker would be. I think
Yeah, I think there's going to be a very close point of like, oh god, now there's two of them kind of thing. But it's not going to go full force like we see with
yeah,
Crosshair, because Crosshair is going to be a more emotional thing where I think Wrecker will just be like a temporary threat. But very
yeah,
cool. I think this is something we should keep an eye on because they're definitely setting it up. It was very intentional.
yeah,
But as you mentioned before, speaking of Crosshair, you kind of talked about the mirroring plot lines and how seamlessly they did that.
yeah,
And I just really appreciate it too because you're getting the cold villainous actions of Crosshair as he's descending, he's worsening.
yeah,
He has a degenerative arc, and then you're getting this very nurturing, happy relationship between the Bad Batch and
yeah,
Omega, and it's a very positive arc. And I really just it really highlights the emotions, and I've just been very appreciative of the emotional stakes of this. I mean, Crosshair when he kills that soldier who I don't remember his name. It doesn't even matter. He's dead.
yeah.
When he kills him, that was and he drops the good soldiers follow orders
Orders.
line.
That was so good.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
And that was like this is the show now. We're moving.
yeah,
This isn't any there's no more setup. We're going. The
yeah,
plot's happening. Um I just found that so cool. It
yeah.
was so interesting and so compelling.
And also what I really liked is like Tarkin and the Vice Admiral, right? What's his name?
Vice Admiral Rampart.
Rampart. That's what it was. They didn't. They're like, oh, it's a loss of combat. They didn't acknowledge that Crosshair killed them. I'm like, there's no way they spied on the Bad Batch but didn't spy on this group of conscripted
Exactly. That was
soldiers.
my thought too.
Like, there's no way they didn't send a droid out
There
there.
wasn't a probe droid there. So, but in my mind, and I hope this comes back as a future plot point because it's very interesting because I think Crosshair is really drawn to. I mean, Crosshair. Tarkin's really drawn to Crosshair, unlike the rest of the Bad Batch.
Yeah,
But I think there's going to be some tension where Rampart is like, I don't know. It was a little weird because there was some tension there, but also Rampart wants Project War Mantle to
yeah,
happen. You've got clones teaching conscripted soldiers, and I don't know. It's like there's something unsettling about Vice Admiral Rampart. Like
yeah,
Crosshair's still a character that we don't want him to die, which is very compelling for a villain. It's exactly
right,
what you want, where it's like you want him to be on screen, and just they made every moment of him so juicy in this episode. But
yeah,
I have some interesting thoughts about Rampart. There's no mention of his origin. Like at least we get from Tarkin, even in just the episodes, a little bit about his background and what he was doing before and why he, military. He's like, oh, I'm a governor. But
yeah.
read the Tarkin books. It's great.
So good.
But with Rampart, he just kind of shows up. He's just kind of there. We get very little idea about what he's about. The only two things that are related to him are Project War Mantle, which is the project, to, like I said, and then he's the creator or headed the project. I probably more of chain codes.
Yeah.
So he
Also,
is like this transition to authoritarianism where Tarkin is just like an administrator. Just like you give
yeah,
me the ideas and I'm here to make sure they're executed properly.
yeah. He's an administrator slash like military background sort of thing with his.
Yeah, it's an interesting
Yeah.
dichotomy.
Also, I like that. I always think that Tarkin's interesting because he's like military, but also like from an academic esque background. Like he's more of a scholar, I'd say.
Yeah, he's so calculated.
Yeah.
And I just give them such credit to be able to continue that character to a T in their writing to a point that it never feels like the Tarkin from the movies, the original movies, is different from the Tarkin we have now. It is
Yeah.
cohesive. And that is very difficult to do in any series that spans across decades
Yeah.
or even a decade. It's very hard to keep the tone of a character. And I really just appreciate what they're doing with Tarkin because
Yeah.
I like you said about your mom. I want to punch Tarkin in the face.
Constantly,
That's what I want out of a plotting villain. I want to
yeah,
punch him in the face.
but that's
exactly
also
what
why
makes
he's one of my
Tarkin.
favorite Star Wars characters.
Yeah, he's so perfectly hateable.
Yeah,
But you can respect him. That's the worst part.
yeah. I don't know if you've watched this old there's like a old JonTron clip or whatever where he talks about like the thing about the perfect villain, and he's like an example of it is Gruntilda and Banjo-Kazooie, because
Yeah.
it's the perfect villain. You just, by the end of the game or by the end of whatever is happening, you just want to beat them. Like, you just want to be done with this character, but you enjoy like every second of it when they're around.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's Tarkin. Tarkin
Yeah.
to a T. I'm really interested to see where they'll take him here because we can't kill Tarkin unless the series spans farther than we realize. I mean, you just can't kill Tarkin.
Yeah. How does he canonically die? Do we even know? I don't remember.
I think he died on the Death Star.
Did he? I'm gonna look this up. But
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thought.
Because I wasn't sure if he was able to get off. But anyways, also Rampart gives me like Clovis vibes.
Yeah.
he's straight up.
Actually, I don't know if this weirded you out or if it was just something I saw for a second, but I did make a note of it while I was watching, and I rewinded it.
Yeah, he did die in the
Fact
Death
check
Star.
me, go back and look. But when Rampart walked out of the shadows, I swear to Jesus, I saw yellow eyes. And then he emerges, and they're white. It was weird. I watched it 3 times, and I saw it, and I think it's very subtle.
Where is this?
Probably means nothing. When he first walks out and talks to Tarkin.
In episode 3?
3. This is episode 3.
All right, I'm literally opening the episode right now. Let's hope this doesn't hurt the stream frame rate.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope I don't get a copyright strike there either.
Yeah, mute it.
No, I don't want to watch Clone Wars the movie. Stop asking me.
Hell no. Hell no.
You know, that's the only Star Wars content I haven't watched.
Yeah, don't. It's not awful. Oh, no, it's pretty awful.
I just jumped into the show and I was like, I don't need the movie. I'm literally going to the scene you're talking about, though. It's like 4 or 5 minutes in.
But it's always how the Sith reveal themselves. It's like from the shadows and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I feel like he's going to be connected to Palpatine.
I don't know, Chief.
I'm just saying it would creep me out, and I was like, there was something about it that was unsettling to me, and I can totally see it was the way I saw the scene or something like that. But
it's weird because it looks like it's brown, but it looks like they're trying to light it up, so I can't tell. So definitely, like, I get what you're talking about. Like, I have this frame here.
But it just reminded me a lot of that. It doesn't matter about the exact details, but it was an interesting way to animate someone emerging from the shadows like that. And while Tarkin is always in these foregrounds of these shots, Rampart was like emerging from the background, from the shadows. And he's also displayed up, and who's the only other character who we've seen displayed up like that on the hollow images?
Yeah,
the holograms.
Anyways, this is true. I like how they're fleshing out like that kind of occupation, though. Like the way they're doing it. I mean, they did it well in Rebels as well, but
yeah, they did. That's kind of what my biggest complaint about this is. Like, Rebels has one main plot line, and then you have that stuff going on in the background. Whereas this is we've got 2 plot lines happening simultaneously, and then that in the background.
Right.
And it just makes it hard to focus. I like all of them. I just wish the episodes were a little bit longer.
Don't I wish that about everything Star Wars?
Yeah.
Would I be mad at a 6-hour version of any of the Star Wars movies? No, I wouldn't. I hate to admit it. It's a dumb
Episode
idea.
1? I think so. I think episode 1.
Okay,
I
that's
mean,
pretty. I mean, it's pretty considered.
episode 8 or 9, absolutely. Yeah, I'd say episode 8 or 9. Actually, the idea of a 6-hour episode 1, because I feel like they'd run out of juice with the Jar Jar Binks jokes, and it would water it down, so it'd be a little more tolerable.
Or would there just be would Jar Jar be so sparingly you don't care anymore? This is the real question.
That's the goal.
How? What if like the other 4 hours were just Anakin training while he's really young?
Yeah, that'd be dope, actually.
Yeah, man, I want that. Why did I say that? Why do I want so many things?
Speaking of Star Wars movies, Project War Mantle, and I mean, obviously they're fleshing out in this show, but it's kind of an Easter egg because it originally came from Rogue One, and that was something that Jin mentioned, and I totally forgot about that. I was like, oh, that's cool, Project War Mantle, but it's something she mentioned when sifting through the files in Scarif.
Yeah,
and it was cool to be like, oh, now we finally know what that is. And I would love to eventually find out, was that something they planned since Rogue One? Or is that just we went back and were like, hey, we're going to pick that out because that was a loose end. That'd be great to hear about.
guys, we have to ask Gary Whitta. He's the only one.
I mean, I could definitely see it being an unnamed thing that Lucas had in mind from the beginning.
I mean, didn't they say Darksaber in there too? and then that's happened.
Yeah, dude.
Shit, go back to that Rogue One scene, everyone.
Yeah,
is there anything else?
Rogue One again, because everything they've said in that has came true in the shows.
It's because it's the best Star Wars movie.
It is the best Star Wars movie.
As a movie.
Fight me. No, just it is the best Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Although I love Empire. Than Empire Strikes Back, but Empire's is rewatchable and fun and nostalgic. Rogue One makes me fucking sad.
It does. And it's so good. I actually talked to my journalism professor when we were talking. He brought it up, or how it replayed on a channel. I think it was on TNT or something random. And he was talking about how that got things on Twitter going, because we're talking about social media stuff. And I was just can we just talk about how this is the best movie? 20 minutes during class. But anyways,
I love it. Going back to the Empire, I really also thought it was cool in this episode how in episode 2 the Imperial troopers were firing blue shots.
Oh yeah,
just like the clones. But in this episode, as we're getting our Spec Ops conscripted soldiers, they're starting to use red blasts, which match with crosshairs.
Yeah,
and it was kind of this transition.
Also, flamethrowers.
Yeah, the flamethrowers where they killed those civilians. I was surprised they didn't animate the flames in the eyes. The slits
on the
stormtrooper. I don't think they could have. I think there would probably be some censor issue, some hey, you're rating.
I don't know. They kind of played the noises though. So
they played the noises. So I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
That was chilling.
It was.
Yeah, this was a great episode. That's all I'm gonna say. This episode was fantastic.
And it so
it blew
good.
Episode 2 out of the water.
Yeah.
It blew episode 1 out of the water.
Yeah. Also, I really just like the names for these so far. They've been perfect.
Yeah, they've been so well titled.
Cut and Run is literally cut, and then the characters have to run.
Yeah, I was really confused about the replacements at first, and it really took me some time until I was like, oh, this is the soldiers.
Yeah, the soldiers are replacing the Bad Batch, but then Omega's kind of replacing Crosshair in the crew.
And it was interesting how I just thought of this, but this is interesting to me now, but it's interesting how the character that Crosshair killed was very similar to how Crosshair was acting originally, saying, you shouldn't be the leader because of your background, because of the way you're going to make decisions. And Crosshair just wasn't having any of it until eventually he turns on him and he's like, all right, are you gonna pull the mission? And it was so good. And
the guy was like, this is a war crime. None of us are doing it. Don't listen to the clone.
Literally, it was like he was killing Hunter.
Yeah.
like a mix of Hunter and Crosshair because the guy was an
Yeah,
asshole.
it was
But
flipped. Yeah,
it was such an interesting dichotomy. The writing in this show has been so tight, and I don't of all the reviews I've read, no one has given them credit for that. I mean, they've been like, oh, some of the actions are so classic Star Wars, and there's the complaints that I already raised about, hey, there's a lot of things going on, but no one's really talked about how like this is has a tighter script, more deliberate writing than any
it's,
show we've seen in Star Wars.
yeah,
Any show.
or literally like most of the movies.
Yeah, well, the movies don't count. Like, unless you're talking about Rogue One,
Yeah,
everything else is just all over the place.
yeah,
The shows at least have some sort of consistency because you got to hold a plot episode to episode, right?
yeah, exactly. Also, I'm really glad that it's so far it's been as linear as it has been.
Me
Like
too.
we might see changes during seasons because that happens in shows and stuff.
I mean, the term linear has to be used loosely because we don't know, like, is Crosshair killing this guy at the same time that they're on
Oh
this
yeah,
planet? Because one of the things about sci-fi, and this is a trope that arises from Star Wars and really Star Trek, is the warp speed.
yeah,
And
and like
the writing term for
rotations.
it, well, the writing term for it is the speed of plot. That's how fast they move.
Yeah,
When the plot's done, they get there. You don't need to worry about timing it out and how long it's you're so free to be like, okay, no one knows how long it's gonna take them to get from one unknown destination to the other.
exactly. Yeah, that's very true. But
So,
I just like
it's
that
just
it's closer to like Rebels in that sense,
yeah,
where it is
the
like
developments are really tight. They're not too far after each other. Obviously, there was time between episode 2 and episode 3, but you got to remember this is an episodic format, so it's not going to
exactly.
be completely desynchronous and disconnected. So
Yeah, but it seems that like it feels like it's picking up immediately, or at least when anything interesting is happening. You know?
yeah, I am very excited for the next episode because remember we have a 16 show
Yeah,
run, and this will be the quarter mark.
yeah,
Um, and I think this is going to be the big like, okay, we were just in Act One, either this episode or the next. We were in Act One. Now we're moving to Act Two. This is where the point of no
yeah.
return in the
I
plot.
think, yeah, I think it's all going to be about chips for a lot.
Yeah, and I think for Crosshair, he had his point of no return, which is very common for a side character to have before the main characters.
Yeah,
And I'm just really excited to see where that is. And I agree with you. I think it's going to be something related to the chip. I mean, they didn't just have Tech
working on
create
that for nothing.
this chip for nothing, just to be an asshole, and not help Echo. Like it's going to come back because they don't want you to dislike any of these characters. Um, and I mean, out of all of them, Tech is the most standoffish.
Right now he is because Crosshair's out of the mix.
But that's just what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah, because they're always like, Tech, you could
Echo
have
is a
told us
soldier.
this.
Echo's a soldier through and through. Hunter has been the most complex, and then
Wrecker's a giant baby.
every yeah, everyone likes Wrecker.
Omega's our or Omega's our child we need to protect. Yeah.
Yeah, Omega's great.
Yeah.
So Tech, they're not just gonna make him an asshole for a reason. Oh, I'm not helping you. Don't worry about this. The plot's my fault because I didn't help fix these things.
I thought it was
Um,
obvious. I like how that's becoming a meme.
yeah, I have enjoyed that. They've really gone down onto clamped down onto this is the tech guru stereotype where he's got high intelligence but he's just oblivious, like, and not
He's
necessarily
not the
oblivious
greatest
like he doesn't
literally,
see
yeah.
anything around him. He's just oblivious to the fact that he just
People
doesn't
don't.
think that other people can't think like he can.
Exactly.
So I think we're going to see some
which is
big
actually a perfect flaw for
it is
that
a perfect
archetype.
flaw. I would love for it to get resolved, but we only have 16 episodes, and
And
I
we're
care
only
more
4
about
in.
100,
3 in.
100 and Omega.
Yeah.
3, yeah. We're gonna see more of Rex. I'm gonna tell you that right
Yeah.
now.
I'm surprised we
Um,
haven't seen all the footage from the like trailers we got, which I was surprised. I thought those would all be first 2 to 3 episodes, and then I was like,
I think we'll see Rex in the next 2 episodes.
I tend to agree. It really depends on how they want to draw it out, but I think their urge to get there, like, he got his out. Clearly, Rex is fine. Echo's going to be like, well, what about Rex? Because he mentioned that he was there. And he didn't turn on him.
There is something about Omega that has not been revealed yet.
I
think it is more than just the Kimino plot. Because I think they're going to have to send someone after her to retrieve her because she is the super soldier. Because they said they only need one of that group of the genetically modified ones, and I guarantee.
Yeah, and apparently they don't need Crosshair.
That's my theory, because they said we only need one, and I'm like, they already have Crosshair. And now you could make the argument, well, they have the Empire has Crosshair, not us.
True.
He's their pawn at this point, but it's gonna be Omega.
There's no reason they wouldn't be like, hey, you need to do testing or whatever, you know. It's not like we can summon
how
him.
about we make you 1,000 of this guy?
Literally.
Like, oh shit, let's do it.
Same price as the other guys. Same price.
Yeah, man. As long as you're paying the electric, we don't care.
I love the idea that the Kim and Owens are just doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, man. They're like, shit, man.
Like, fuck,
Getting
man.
C's. Hey,
dude, we're in debt. War, right? Why? Oh, just like buying. You're like, those cool pterodactyls? We bought 5,000 of them. I don't know.
Oh yeah, those pterodactyls. Shit, I forgot about those.
Yeah, for those 12 collective seconds in the prequels.
Yeah, I gotta love the prequels. Just creating stupid shots for no reason that make. Do not watch the director's cuts of any of those movies, by the way.
Don't
watch extended versions of any of the prequels.
All right.
They will only continue to make you angry.
I need live wallpapers of every Star Wars planet. That's what we need.
Every Star Wars planet. Did you watch Star Wars Biome?
Yeah, I did. I loved it. I want more of that.
Okay, my girlfriend and I were like, that looks stupid. So I'll have to watch it now that you said you like it.
It's just kind of like something you put on the background. It's just like, oh, look at these cool little references.
Cool. Maybe I'll watch that when I'm in a hotel.
Yeah. It's just kind of, I wish it was longer. It's like 12 minutes, or it's like 20 minutes or something.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I was I want this for hours.
Before we end the episode, I've made a lot of really stupid predictions. I need you to hit me with something. I need you to tell me, Charlie, what can the fans look out for in the next episode? What's coming up?
What's coming up? You want to go with one of your stupid things first?
No, I've already said my stupid things.
Oh, you already said stupid things?
I always say stupid things.
I don't.
No, I think we're gonna see Rex within the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, because I don't really know. Like, we haven't gotten any sort of like mercenary sort of plot, which I kind of thought we'd get, or like taking weird and odd jobs, like sort of deal. We haven't gotten any of that yet, which I was kind of surprised about, because that was kind of like what they told us immediately when they announced the show. So I think we'll have to see something like that. But I think there's a. Do you think we'll see Vader this season? Because I could see him by the end if things escalate.
He's not developed enough yet. I mean, I don't know if this part of the Vader comics are, because there was a comic series where Tarkin and Vader were basically being established together.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's canon anymore, but essentially Tarkin was on his way up to be the Grand Moff.
Yeah, I know there's books about it, and then the Tarkin book as well.
And this Vader was just kind of a pawn.
Yeah.
And then he establishes himself by being like, you're not going to mess with me anymore. And he kills a room full of Tarkin's men. Like, just slaughters them. So I don't know if they'll keep up with that trend of it takes him a while to become more than just Palpatine's lapdog to the Imperials.
Right.
I would love to see Vader. I mean,
I think it'd just be cool to see early Vader.
For lack of a better, me too. For lack of a better term, it would put butts in seats.
Right.
It will make people watch. It would be smart, but I don't know if they will, just from the Filoni writing team kind of style.
Yeah, but I also think you can save those sort of things for the future. I still think there's obviously stuff with Criminal Syndicate. There's a good chance we can see Dryden Voss. We can see Maul. We could even see
Next two
Ahsoka.
episodes, Charlie. Next two episodes.
I want
What do you think
Ahsoka.
we're gonna see?
I missed that character already.
I missed Ahsoka too. Okay, Charlie's going with we're gonna see Ahsoka in this series.
I think that's good, possible because I think Rex would tell them.
Yeah.
I think that's not even like because he's obviously gonna tell the story of what happened. You have to imagine, right?
Yeah.
There's no way that he's just gonna neglect that he survived like a giant ship crash and everyone tried to kill him and Ahsoka and they got away. They split up.
Yeah.
And I mean, they probably vaguely said where they're going. You go this way, I go that way, sort of thing, at least, right?
Yeah. I think you've sold me, Charlie.
Yeah.
I can't give my sales pitch because I'll sound like a conspiracy theorist. But,
no, do it.
No, I've already given my sales pitch for the Rex thing. I think it's pretty clear just based off what we've seen. But
yeah, because I
out.
don't see them like Echo and Rex reuniting and not having to talk about Ahsoka.
Yeah,
like that's the thing, and there's no way we get deep into any sort of like Criminal Syndicate stuff or like weird and odd jobs without Dryden or Maul popping up, especially if we're moving out from Core Worlds.
Yeah, we're in the Outer Rim.
Hey.
Well, that's a perfect transition for us to end the episode now that we're talking about ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of our episode, our little review, for lack of a better term, on the last two episodes of Bad Batch. So thank you for tuning in from all across the galaxy. If you liked the episode, please consider subscribing to our podcast and sharing our podcast with a friend or a family member who might enjoy it. If you like our logo, see right here.
Merch.
You can find our merch online by searching Outer Rim Radio on redbubble.com. But other than that, thank you for tuning in. Goodbye, and may the force be with you all.
Bye.